Was the funniest man I knew who wasn't supposed to be funny. And he would be funny doing and saying nothing.
For decades, Hollywood fans wondered what really happened between Angie Dickinson and Dean Martin, two of the most captivating stars of their time, whose chemistry on-screen was undeniable and whose rumored closeness off-screen sparked endless speculation. Yet through all the interviews, biographies, and behind-the-scenes stories, Angie stayed silent. She never confirmed anything, never denied anything, and never revealed the truth about the bond she shared with one of the smoothest entertainers in entertainment history. But now, after years of keeping her feelings private, Angie Dickinson has finally opened up, and what she reveals about Dean Martin is far more emotional, heartfelt, and surprising than anyone expected. According to Angie, the connection she shared with Dean was unlike anything she had with any other co-star. There was warmth, trust, and a sincerity behind the cameras that fans never saw. Dean, known for his effortless charm, his calm voice, and his cool personality, had a side that he rarely showed publicly, a side Angie witnessed up close. She describes moments of vulnerability, kindness, and honesty from Dean that completely changed the way she saw him. Moments she says she never forgot. But Angie also reveals the difficult side of their friendship, the pressures of fame, the struggles Dean faced behind the spotlight, and the emotional distance that sometimes appeared even when they were closest. Her words paint a far deeper picture of the Hollywood icon than the world ever expected, showing a man who hid his pain behind jokes, a smile, and that unforgettable voice. And as Angie finally breaks her silence, the truth about their relationship, the highs, the heartbreak, and the memories she still holds, changes everything fans thought they knew. When Angie Dickinson finally chose to speak about her connection with Dean Martin, she began by revisiting the first moment they met. It was the early 1960s, a time when Hollywood sparkled with glamour, elegance, and personalities larger than life. Angie was already building a strong reputation as a rising star, while Dean Martin was one of the most beloved entertainers in the world. Their paths crossed on studio lots, at rehearsals, and later on film sets, where an instant ease settled between them. Angie explained that Dean had a presence that immediately put people at peace. He had a laid-back charm that made even the most intimidating Hollywood environments feel like a friendly gathering. According to Angie, Dean never acted like a superstar. He didn't need to. His confidence wasn't loud. It was warm and inviting. Angie remembered how he greeted everyone with the same respect, whether they were headlining actors or lighting crew members. That humility, she said, was the first thing that made her see him differently from other leading men of the era. To her, Dean was not just talented, he was genuine. Their early scenes together revealed a natural chemistry that surprised even the directors. Angie said she never had to act around Dean. Everything came effortlessly. He had a unique ability to make his co-stars feel comfortable, supported, and appreciated. Angie noted that Dean paid attention in a way few others did. He listened carefully, remembered details, and often sensed when someone needed encouragement. But Angie also revealed something more personal, something she had kept to herself for years. Behind Dean's smooth exterior was a sensitive man who carried silent emotional weight. She recalled moments between takes when Dean would grow quiet, his smile fading for just a second, as if he were deep in thought. Angie said she could never forget those moments because they were glimpses of a side he rarely let the world see. Even then, she sensed that Dean was a man who hid his true feelings behind humor, music, and effortless charm. Despite this private vulnerability, Dean had a remarkable way of making everyone laugh. Angie said that one of her favorite memories was how he could lighten the mood of an entire set with a single comment. His humor wasn't forced. It flowed naturally, as if spreading joy was just part of who he was. And while fans admired Dean for his performances, Angie appreciated him for his sincerity, a quality she believed defined his character more than any role he ever played. Their friendship grew steadily as they worked together. Angie described long conversations, shared jokes, and small, meaningful moments that deepened their connection. According to her, Dean treated her with a level of respect and kindness that made him stand out. He valued her talent, encouraged her decisions, and never tried to overshadow her. Angie called their bond effortless, a rare feeling in an industry filled with competition and ego. Even with the growing closeness, Angie made it clear that their relationship was never simple. Hollywood came with expectations, rumors, and constant pressure. She said that maintaining any genuine connection in such an environment was difficult, yet somehow, Dean made it feel natural. He didn't let outside noise affect their friendship, and he never allowed fame to change his behavior around her. Looking back, Angie believes those early years shaped how she viewed Dean for the rest of her life. To her, he wasn't just an entertainer or a co-star. He was someone who made her feel understood, someone who showed her that beneath the spotlight and the laughter was a man who cared deeply, listened intently, and carried more emotion than the world ever knew. As Angie Dickinson continued reflecting on her time with Dean Martin, she revealed that their connection deepened during the long hours they spent filming together. Off-camera moments often carried more meaning than the scenes themselves. Angie described how Dean had a calming presence that seemed to slow down the chaos around him. On days when the set felt overwhelming, Dean had a way of making everything feel manageable simply by being there. Angie said he could walk into a room full of stress and tension, and within minutes, the entire atmosphere would shift. One of the things Angie admired most was Dean's remarkable self-control. Hollywood was an industry known for unpredictable emotions, but Dean rarely lost his composure. Even when directors grew impatient or scenes required endless retakes, Dean approached every challenge with patience. Angie said this trait wasn't just admirable, it was comforting. Knowing she was working with someone who stayed grounded helped her feel more secure in her own performance. Yet Angie also revealed that this calm exterior often hid a quieter sadness. She recalled seeing Dean alone during breaks, his eyes fixed on the distance, lost in thoughts he never discussed openly. Angie sensed a loneliness beneath his charismatic personality, a weight he carried that no one in the public ever saw. She explained that Dean was the kind of person who gave joy to others, often at the expense of his own emotional needs. Despite this, Dean was incredibly thoughtful. Angie remembered times when he would notice she was tired or stressed before she even said a word. He would offer encouragement, crack a soft joke, or simply sit beside her in silence, offering unspoken support. Angie said these small gestures stayed with her far longer than any Hollywood memory. They revealed a side of Dean that was gentle, caring, and deeply human. As their friendship grew, Angie became one of the few people Dean trusted enough to confide in. She didn't share everything he said, but she hinted that Dean carried personal burdens he preferred to hide from the world. The pressure of fame, the non-stop schedules, and the expectations placed upon him took a toll. Angie said he handled it with grace, but she could always sense when something was weighing him down. Working together also meant witnessing Dean's incredible professionalism. Angie said Dean never complained, never treated anyone poorly, and never made demands that put others in uncomfortable positions. He appreciated every member of the crew and made them feel valued. In an industry where egos could fill entire rooms, Dean remained grounded. Angie believed this humility came from understanding what truly mattered in life: friendship, laughter, and simple moments of connection. But Angie also spoke about a quieter challenge in their friendship: the distance that fame created. Dean was adored by millions, constantly surrounded by attention, and always in demand. Angie admitted that while their bond was strong, there were times when she felt the weight of that distance. Dean's life was divided between public expectations and private battles, leaving little room for genuine closeness. Even when they were side by side, she sometimes felt he was carrying something she couldn't reach. Still, Angie never forgot the sincerity Dean showed her. He treated her with warmth, respect, and a softness that made her feel seen in a world where everything felt performative. She said that Dean valued meaningful moments more than glamorous events, and that simplicity made their connection feel real. Reflecting on those years, Angie believes that working with Dean shaped her both personally and professionally. He taught her the power of kindness, the value of staying grounded, and the importance of being present. Even now, decades later, Angie speaks of Dean with a tone that carries admiration, tenderness, and a hint of sadness, a reminder that some bonds leave an imprint that time can never erase. Fans wondered what truly happened behind the charismatic smiles and effortless chemistry between Angie Dickinson and Dean Martin. Their on-screen rapport looked so natural that audiences believed it had to be rooted in a deeper, more meaningful connection. And although both stars maintained a veil of privacy, Angie finally began to reveal the emotions she kept tucked away, feelings shaped not just by admiration, but by the bittersweet constraints of timing, careers, and the demanding, often harsh nature of Hollywood. The truth wasn't dramatic or scandalous. It was far more human, and perhaps more painful because of that. Angie recalled that Dean had a remarkable way of making a woman feel like she was the only person in the room. It wasn't a rehearsed charm or a forced act, it was simply who he was. He had an ease about him, a quiet warmth that made people open up naturally. She described him as someone who carried a gentle sadness beneath the surface. Despite his reputation as a fun-loving entertainer, there was something vulnerable there, something that made Angie feel protective of him. She admired his humor, his straightforwardness, and the way he could turn a stressful moment into something lighthearted with just a few words. But Angie also admitted that part of their closeness came from understanding each other's struggles. Dean was already navigating family pressures, the challenges of fame, and the emotional weight of maintaining an image the world expected from him. Angie, meanwhile, was working in a business where women had to fight for respect, meaningful roles, and personal boundaries. They bonded over shared frustrations, how Hollywood could celebrate you one day and ignore you the next, how relationships often failed under the constant glare of publicity, and how being strong on the outside sometimes hid deep loneliness within. Despite the connection, Angie revealed that she always felt Dean held a small part of himself back. He was warm, caring, and attentive, yet he carried a quiet emotional distance that even she couldn't cross. He let you in, she said, but only up to a point. For Angie, this emotional barrier was one of the reasons their relationship, whatever it was, never became anything more than a profound friendship, laced with unspoken affection. She knew that Dean was protecting himself. He had endured personal losses, professional betrayals, and private heartbreaks that made him cautious. Angie respected that, even though it left her wondering at times what might have been if circumstances were just a little different. As the years passed, their closeness remained steady but defined. They trusted each other in an industry where trust was rare. Angie said Dean never made her feel judged, pressured, or uncomfortable. He treated her with a level of respect that, even today, she says is hard to find. While Hollywood rumors constantly tried to assign romance to every magnetic on-screen partnership, both she and Dean knew the truth. Their connection was built on mutual care, not sensational headlines. Yet Angie confessed something she had never directly put into words before. She admitted that she cared for Dean in a way that surprised even me, as she described it. It wasn't a fleeting infatuation or a temporary spark created by long working days. It was genuine affection that lingered, even when they weren't filming, even when life took them in different directions. She felt drawn to his kindness, his humor, and the little gestures that showed who he really was behind the image the world adored. But Angie also recognized that timing was never on their side. Dean had responsibilities, emotional commitments, and a life built around routines that didn't easily change. Angie, too, was pursuing a career that demanded her full attention. They respected each other too much to complicate their lives with something uncertain, even if the feelings were real. When Dean's later years grew more private and reserved, Angie cherished the memories they shared. She remembered his laughter, his generosity, and the way he always made her feel seen. And when she finally spoke up about him, she didn't focus on rumors or speculation. She spoke about the man she knew, the gentle soul behind the performer, the loyal friend behind the legend, and the person who left a quiet but lasting mark on her life. As Angie Dickinson reflected on the final years of Dean Martin's life, her voice softened with a mixture of admiration and sorrow. She spoke about him not as the world-famous entertainer, not as the suave crooner with the velvet voice, but as a man who carried quiet battles that the public never saw. Dean had always been private almost to an extreme. While other stars embraced attention, he avoided it. While many performers reinvented themselves to stay relevant, he stepped back, finding peace in solitude. And that, Angie revealed, was one of the things she respected most about him. She recalled that Dean never chased after fame the way others did. Even when he was at the height of his popularity, he didn't crave the spotlight, nor did he measure his worth through applause or ratings. For him, work was work. He enjoyed performing, but it wasn't the center of his identity. Angie said that this simplicity, this ability to remain grounded, was rare in Hollywood, especially for someone of Dean's stature. He didn't need to prove anything, she said. He wasn't trying to be bigger than anyone else. That humility impressed her more than any performance he ever gave. But behind that effortless coolness was a man who endured profound personal pain. Angie hesitated when speaking about Dean's heartbreak over the loss of his son, a tragedy that changed him in ways few people understood. She described how the light in his eyes dimmed, how his laughter grew softer, and how his once playful energy turned inward. He became more reserved, more withdrawn. Friends tried to lift his spirits, but Dean kept much of his grief to himself. He didn't want sympathy, nor did he want anyone to carry his sadness for him. Angie said she wished she could have done more, but she also knew that Dean was the type of person who carried his burdens quietly, because that was how he believed he needed to cope. Angie also revealed how deeply Dean valued loyalty. He didn't open his heart easily, but once he trusted someone, he remained devoted. Their friendship endured because it was built on honesty, not fame or convenience. She recalled moments between them that were simple but meaningful, long conversations on set, shared jokes that only they found funny, and quiet pauses where nothing had to be said at all. These were the memories Angie treasured the most, far more than red carpets or publicity photos. As the years moved on, Dean's world grew smaller. He avoided public events unless absolutely necessary, preferring the comfort of home and the company of a select few. Angie understood this shift. Hollywood could be exhausting, especially for someone who had already achieved everything he set out to do. Dean wasn't running away from the world. He was simply choosing peace. Angie admired that he had the courage to walk away from fame on his own terms, something many stars were never able to do. Toward the end of the chapter of his life, Angie spoke about how her feelings for Dean matured into something deeper, a profound sense of gratitude. She was grateful for the friendship they shared, for the respect he showed her in an industry where respect was often lacking, and for the lessons she learned simply by observing the way he carried himself. Dean taught her that true strength didn't always look like ambition or loud confidence. Sometimes it looked like quiet dignity, steady loyalty, and the willingness to stay true to who you are. In the final part of her reflections, Angie admitted that she still thinks about Dean with a sense of warmth tinged by sadness. She missed his gentle humor, the twinkle in his eyes when he delivered a perfectly timed joke, and the understated kindness that made him different from everyone else in Hollywood. She acknowledged that there would never be another quite like him. To her, Dean Martin wasn't just a legend, he was a reminder of an era where charm was genuine, humility was real, and friendships were built on authenticity, not fame. Angie's decision to finally speak up about Dean wasn't about revealing some hidden scandal or shocking secret. It was about honoring a man she deeply admired. It was about telling the world that behind the effortless charm, an iconic image was a soul full of warmth, vulnerability, and depth. And in sharing her story, she gave fans something more meaningful than gossip. She gave them the truth about a bond shaped by respect, affection, and a quiet love that never needed a label.